If I just love him, I love him harder, he'll be better for me. He'll go back to the person he was in the beginning of the relationship. But it doesn't work that way, you know? So in the end, she had to leave because she realized that there's nothing she could do to fix me. She had to leave for herself, you know? So and now she's been back for about 2 years now. We have a new daughter. You know, she's a little bug, but you know, we love her and whatnot. But like, it's been hard work. It's not easy. I think one of the main questions that I get on my platform is, can you have a normal relationship with a narcissist? And I don't think normal exists in a world with a narcissist. I don't think a normal, it doesn't work that way, you know?
Can a narcissist be in a happy relationship?
Yeah, if it's hard work, you can do it if that person is willing to do it for themselves. They had my wife left and I still was going to therapy. I think that's one of the reasons she came back. I didn't stop going to therapy because she left. She left and I was still going because I go to therapy to work on myself, to make everything else around me better, but I have to do it to work on myself. You know, she left and I was still going because most people, if they go to therapy, if you leave them, they'll stop going to therapy because the only reason they're going to therapy is to keep you there. She left and I was still going. You know, it's just like, because I know therapy is not just to keep her here. It's for me to live a better existence, whether she's here or not.
A lot of people have found themselves in relationships with narcissistic people. What are the biggest dangers?
So I feel like the biggest danger in being in a relationship with a narcissist is losing your own identity. You know, I feel like that's one of the biggest dangers of being in a relationship with a narcissist, toxic person, whoever, is losing who you are, trying to fix this person and trying to help this person be better. You know, no narcissistic person can be better without them themselves wanting to be better, you know, without them themselves wanting to put the work in on themselves. A lot of people think that they can heal a narcissist or they can fix a narcissist, or they see that they're broke. They feel like they are dealing with a broken person. So you give pieces of yourself trying to fix this broken person. Maybe, you know, you cannot outlove the trauma that made somebody a narcissist. You can't do that. They have to want to go work on themselves. So I feel like the biggest danger is loss of identity, loss of self, and typically you get isolated and you lose pretty much a lot. You lose a lot, you know.
How does narcissism develop in people?
So for me, more than anything, it comes from just trauma. Most times it comes from trauma in your childhood, like trauma that you haven't dealt with yourself in your childhood, that is unresolved trauma that makes you develop this narcissistic personality. You know, I'm not a narcissist at my core. My core is a wounded inner child. But the outside of that core, you know, like this, it's like kind of like the earth, you know, how the earth has its core. The core of the earth is the inner child of the narcissist. The rest of it is the narcissist. So you have to hack away through that surface level to get to the inner child to even begin to work on that narcissistic person. You see what I'm saying? The trauma creates the narcissistic part. The trauma creates the narcissistic personality disorder. You know, so most narcissists are created through trauma, and some. I think I've seen some evidence of people saying that narcissistic, it doesn't require trauma. Sometimes it can just be, you know, you grow up and your parents don't tell you no. Like you grow up with no boundaries and you just become narcissistic because nobody ever tells you no. You know, you just grow up and you kind of raise yourself because your parents are doing other stuff. So I've heard of that as well. You know, for me, that's how I look at narcissistic personality disorder as a defense mechanism to protect their inner child. You know, like when I was young and vulnerable, being vulnerable got me hurt. So I developed the narcissistic shell around my inner child to protect the inner child from vulnerability and stuff like that. So it is absolutely a defense.